Okay, before we get going on the details of the monthly budget, I want to discuss a little bit about my philosophy about budgeting. There are two basic methods for budgeting. One is the zero month, the zero value month, and that is where you budget all the way to zero every single month and you assume that you start off with nothing. I don't find that very realistic. I very much count on that rollover money month over month to prepare myself for the next month. For example, my mortgage comes out on the first or second day of the month. I may not have gotten paid that day. I have income, I have some money in my bank that I have to account for from the month prior in order to pay for that monthly budget. So I need to know at the end of the month that I need to have a certain amount of money left over in order to begin my next month properly. So if I pay $1,500 for my mortgage loan and I know that the very first week of the month I spend $300 on groceries, then I know that at the end of the prior month, I need to have at least $1,800 for sure in my bank account at the beginning of the next month in order to meet my needs. So that's why it's really important to do your initial bank balance and get that on paper first. What we're trying to do every single month with our monthly budget is to reconcile it against our actual bank account. And what that means is that when we write down all of the details of our budget and then we look at our bank, everything should match. So at the beginning of the month, we should have the exact same number. And at the end of the month, after you have put in all of your income and expenses on the paper document, your balance, your bank balance should be the exact same balance as the one on your paper. All right, so now that you know a little bit about my philosophy there, let's start with the very top of the page. It says we need to enter our initial bank balance. So at the beginning of January on 1/1/2022, what was your bank balance, right? I'm going to go ahead and write down $1,000 for the purposes of this example. So at the very beginning of the month, I had $1,000. Now, of course, we're looking at a month that already passed, so we should have all of this information already. We're going to go ahead and put in, let's say we have person one, and their income was $1,800 for the month. And then, so you want to go ahead and put in whatever your income is or someone else in your household, however you want to do this. Person two, in my example, will have made $4,000 in the month of January. So the income amount can vary month over month, right? If you don't have a W-2 job, it may be difficult to say exactly how much you're going to make. You may not make the same amount of money every single month, but that is the beauty of having a budget and learning your behaviors. What's going to happen is at the end of the first year of budgeting, or even at the end of the first 3 months of budgeting, you're going to start to get an idea of how your income and your expenses fluctuate. Especially after a full year, you will have the confidence and the know-how to budget for the next year and years after that, because you're going to have a true idea of how much you spend and how much you earn every single month throughout the year. All right, so for my total income, I'm going to add up my initial bank balance, and then my income for person one and person two. So I'm going to say that's $6,800. Then the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at my fixed expenses that we already detailed in our fixed expense worksheet. Now we're going to identify the dollar values for all of these expenses. So I'm going to set this aside and I'm going to copy this over to this spreadsheet. So you do the same. All right, so I'm going to stop right here. And if you recall, so we're budgeting the month of January. In my expense tracker, I have some more expenses listed here, right? This house insurance doesn't come out until February. So I don't need to put that in as an item, a line item, until the month of February, next month. And then my Disney Plus does not come out until December. So I have not forgotten about my Disney Plus because it's on my expense tracker, but it is irrelevant for the month of January, so I don't need to put that in there. Now that I've copied down all of my expenses and I've looked at my bank statements and I've confirmed the amount of money that I spent in January for these items, I'm going to go ahead and now add my variable expenses. So these are expenses that happen every month or can happen most months that you want to take into account. So for example, we have gas, and in the month of January, I actually spent $125 on gas. Okay. What I did was I looked through the bank statement and I added up and highlighted or crossed off, checked off, whatever it is that you want to do, all of your gas expenses, add those together using your phone calculator or whatever, manual calculator, and put in the total there. Then you want to do your food/needs. I recommend bundling these two together as one because in today's world, it's very difficult to buy your food in a different place than you buy your toothpaste and your toilet paper and hand sanitizer and all of those kinds of things. So it's easier just to bundle it all together. So for this month, I spent $725 on food and needs. The next one is restaurant. For restaurant expense, I spent $400. Car maintenance. So I may not have car maintenance every month, but I always put it in as an item for my budget as $50. Entertainment. My husband and I have a young child and we're expecting another one, so we don't get to go out very much, so our entertainment budget and entertainment expenses are not very big. For us, it's $60. Then we have home improvement. And of course, these categories can vary for you, but this is a very general list that I find is very commonly used with most people. With home improvement, we own our home, like I said, and there's always something to fix, something to buy, whether it's light bulbs or drywall, fixing, if it's painting, whatever it is, the home improvement line, it pretty much happens for us every month. Then we have play money. I'll do an entire video probably on play money, but this is the most critical piece to our budget. For every month, there has to be an amount of money in order to keep us sane and to keep us on our goals that we can spend with no rules. And so what we have, and this varies over time depending on, whether before we had kids, we had a lot more play money. Now that we have kids, our budget's a little tighter, so we have to keep that in mind. And then, so what we've decided is that we're going to have $300 in play money, $150 for me, $150 for my husband. And this money actually comes out of our accounts every month and goes into a personal separate checking account. Now we do share bank accounts. This may not be something you do, but it does not mean you cannot budget together as a couple if you have a partner. Okay, I'll do two more here. Clothes and shoes and gifts. So for the month of January, spent $50 on clothes and shoes. And then on gifts, I had one birthday in the month of January and I spent $65 on that birthday. So I'm going to budget those $65. Now here, again, we are looking at a month that's already happened because you're using your statements. So your actuals and your budget will be the same. But this is a good way of beginning your next month's budget. Let's say in the month of February, I have 3 birthdays. And then I know that for the gifts line item, I need to estimate how much I'm going to spend on that. Be realistic with yourself. If you are a big gifter, a big money spender, and you spend $100 on each person or more than that, then you want to be real with yourself and put that dollar amount there. If you end up not spending that amount, then you will have leftover money. All right, the total of these expenses is $4,352. So this is what I actually spent in the month of January And then I'm going to also, after my expenses, I'm going to list out all of the savings that I do on a monthly basis. I'm a really big proponent of multiple savings accounts. So with that said, I'll go ahead and show you we have a travel savings. They're usually free. I really love Ally. I really love Capital One 360. I have many savings accounts in different banks. I have a Christmas savings account if you celebrate Christmas or any other holiday that you have to save for. We have our emergency fund that we are still trying to fill back up after having used some of that money. And we have investments. So for us, our travel savings right now are pretty minimal. It's $25 a month. Christmas is $50. Emergency is $50, and investments are $50. So we're filling in our travel savings is $25. My Christmas, emergency, and investment savings. Right now for this year, it's not that much. It varies year over year. Before we had kids, we were able to save more. We were able to spend more on play money. But now we have a very limited budget, so we try to save what we can. Now I want to take and add up my savings and my expenses to total $4,527. Finally, I'm going to take my $6,800 in income. So you add up all of your income, you have that in the line item, and you want to take your expenses and savings total and subtract it from your total income. So my balance at the end of the day is $2,273. This should match the amount that you have left over in your bank statement that we just reviewed and we just analyzed. If, for example, you have spent $1,000 on restaurant this month and you had no idea you spent that much money going out to eat, grant yourself some grace. This is the moment to evaluate and look at what our spending habits are. This is the moment to really get to know ourselves financially so that we can make a better future for ourselves. If you are in a lot of debt, if you have credit card debt, if you have school loans, if you have a really high mortgage, if you're underwater with your mortgage, whatever the case may be, don't forget this is a starting point. This is step one. Getting to know yourself financially is the first step to getting out of bad habits and out of debt. So take a moment and reflect on the information that you have in front of you, that you have taken this first step and analyze to see what your habits are and who you are as financially. It does not mean this is going to be who you are tomorrow. I've seen over and over again that it takes at least 3 months of doing this to start to actually get in the habit of making a change, making positive changes in your budget. So it's very unrealistic to say, oh, I spent $1,000 in restaurants. Is that what I spend every month? And maybe you look back and you spend $1,500, $2,000, whatever it is that you're spending, for example, in restaurants. And you're like, no, I'm going to cut it. I'm going to cut it out. I'm going to do $400 in restaurants. I'm going to do $100 instead of $1,000. That's like asking a smoker to quit the next day. You don't want to do that to yourself. Grant yourself some grace. If you spend $1,000 in a restaurant and you don't want to be that person, then budget yourself for $800 the next month and divide that by 4. So $800 divided by 4 would be $200 a week in restaurants. Now you have a permanent number in your head for what you're going to spend on restaurants during the week. So let's say it's Monday night, you're like, oh yeah, I'm really hungry, I definitely want that hibachi place, and you go to the hibachi place, you spend $50. Now in your mind, you know for sure that you have $200 that you can spend that week on restaurant expense. So you don't even have to go back to your bank and look at it. You have an idea of that amount that you already want to spend, and you know you have $150 left in that bucket for that week. I really want to take some time to talk about play money. Play money is something that I call sanity money. It keeps me grounded. It makes me appreciate what I have, and it makes me think twice about what I'm going to spend my money on. This is money for me entirely, money that I don't spend on anyone else. And when I look at my amount of play money, I know for sure that I have a limit that I can spend in a month. And that really helps me to get to my goals and to pay off debt. So I really want to encourage you, if you've never had play money before, start with something. But you want to look at it based on what you already have done for yourself in that month. So for play money, you want to look at your spending habits. Do you buy a lot of video games? Do you pay for a lot of microtransactions? Whenever the itch comes about. Do you buy clothes and shoes for fun? Purses, jewelry, accessories, equipment, whatever the case may be. Do you do that for fun instead of as a necessity? So it's not necessarily fitting into the clothes and shoes line item like I had shown you. Maybe it's actually just play. Maybe it's something you do for fun. Consider that play money and start to guide yourself and say, maybe you spent $1,500 this month on just stuff that you wanted on Amazon, at the store, whatever it is. Don't take yourself down to $300 in play money for the month if you normally spend $1,500 on yourself. What you want to do is start off realistic and then slowly take yourself down to something that makes more sense. So if you normally spend $1,500 and you can afford that, then great. Put that into your play money. Say you can't spend more than $1,500. If this is completely unrealistic and you are now realizing this is happening, take that down. Maybe you have to take it down to $1,000, and then the month after that, it's $800, and see how it feels. But you need to grant yourself some grace and give yourself time to make that change happen. This cannot happen overnight. All right, now that we have looked at our month of January and we've put in our expenses exactly as they are, I'm going to go ahead and use the same document and go to February. Let's say I took out my pencil, as you can see now, so I can change my numbers. What I had said earlier about gifts, you want to keep that in mind. So for example, let's say in the month of February, I actually have no birthdays, so I'm going to make this 0. But for the most part, I'm going to keep the rest of these because this is a good example of my spending habits. So this is my budget now for the month. And I'll take out those $65 from here. And then I have 2, 3, 3, 8. All right, this is pretty messy, but here we go. Budgets are messy, guys. We have to deal. All right, so let's say it is February and we are going throughout the month. Let's say it's midway through the month, and some of these expenses, some of these things have hit. Some of these we've spent some money on, we've spent other money on. We're looking at our bank statement and our credit card statements. Hopefully, if you are using your credit card a lot, you are switching over more now to your checking account and using your debit card, as that is a better habit because you can actually see how much money you're spending. So I'll do another video on credit cards expense. So at the beginning of the month for February, again, let's say we had that $1,000. Our actual bank balance turned out to be $1,500. And for this month, our person 1 already made their $1,800 and person 2 has only brought in $2,000. Maybe they have 2 paychecks. The $2,000 check has come through. Their next pay does not happen until later on in the month. So our actual income right now is $5,300. So again, I'm doing a mid-month checkup. And you can do this as many times during the month as you want, but I recommend starting with a mid-month checkup and then finalizing everything at the end of the month so you can see what happened. So by the mid-month, I have paid my mortgage, that came out. My cell phone bill came out entirely. Car insurance has not come out yet, so that's nothing. This charity doesn't come out until the end of the month. My energy bill was actually $153. Water bill this time was $60, so a little more than I budgeted. My internet expense is actually the same every time, and it already came out. House insurance, property taxes, I actually have this automated for the 20th of the month, so that has not come out yet. So nothing there. For gas, I've spent $80 so far. Food needs. For food and needs, I've already spent $600 and I'm doing my mid-month checkup. So this is a red flag for me. I know that I have to either be really, really careful or know that I have to take money out of a different bucket in order to make up for going over this budgeted amount right here. For restaurants, I've spent $250. Car maintenance, nothing. Entertainment, I actually spent $80. Went out to the movies a few times. Home improvement, $30. My play money, this is totally spent because we have it coming out of our bank accounts early in the month, so we can assume it's already gone. Clothes and shoes, I actually spent $150 unexpectedly already for some coats, some winter coats, because it is really cold out. And then for gifts, I haven't spent anything. So at this point, I can go ahead and add up all of the expenses that I have so far in the month. All right, so that is $3,403. Have any of my savings come out? Yes, I set up my emergency savings to come out and my investment savings to come out near the beginning of the month, and then these other two come out at the end of the month. So I've put $100 to my savings, and then my expenses plus my savings right now is $3,503. So I had $1,500 in my bank account. I've already made for the month $1,800 plus $2,000, so $5,300, and I want to subtract this $3,503 from my $5,300. Okay, so my balance is $1,797. When I go to my bank account on this day that I am updating all of this information, my bank balance should be, and that's the next item here, bank balance should be $1,797. Let's say my bank balance is actually $1,697. So I'm missing $100 here. Where did I either miss money that I spent, or you might have a pending transaction? You want to make sure you account for your pending transactions as things that have occurred, right? So if I actually spent another $100 here in restaurant that I missed, I want to update that. So now my balance should equal my bank balance, and there should be no variance. Okay, at the end of the month and on your mid-month checkup, you should have no variance here. If you do have one and you're just too tired to figure it out at the moment, you can leave your amount there and then look at it at another time. Okay, so what we want to do now is let's assume it's the end of the month. All right, the end of the month is finally here. You can see how you did. And what we want to do is we want to go ahead and see, first do our income. Did we receive the amount of income we expected? In this case, I'm going to say yes, that exact amount. I'm going to change. You're going to want a really good eraser. My total income is $7,300, and I actually had anticipated $6,800, but this time it was $73. My loan, kind of hard to see. There we go. My loan amount is $1,500. That already came out. Cell phone, $125. Car insurance did come out, and it's actually $183. The charity came out. It's exactly $35, exactly what I budgeted. For my house insurance, property taxes, this also came out because this is an automated fixed expense. And all of these other bills are also from my fixed expenses. So those are what they are. For gas, I ended up spending $165 on gas. And this is the first time that I have a difference. No, it's not the first time. So let's go back up here. I have a difference between my budgeted amount and my actual amount. So here, the $153, I spent more on energy this month than I had anticipated by $13. So my balance here, the difference between my actual and my budget, is going to be negative $13 because I overspent by $13. For the water bill, I also had anticipated a $53 bill, and I actually paid a $60 bill. So I paid $7 more. So I'm negative $7. I assumed this much money. I actually paid more. So it has to be a negative number. On a calculator, you would do your budgeted amount minus your actual amount to get your balance. And again, so the internet is the same. House insurance is the same. Gas, $125 minus $165 leaves me with, okay, so for gas, I under budgeted. I had $125 budgeted, but I spent $165. So that means that I under budgeted by $40 on gas. If you're really tight, if your budget is really tight, you know that this $40 has to then come out of somewhere else. For food and needs, we ended up spending $900. So I may have to reevaluate how much I spend on food, or maybe this was a special occasion. Maybe I had a party at the house, maybe I had my family over for dinner a few times, and the food expense went up much higher than I had anticipated. So $725 minus $900 is $175, again, that I did not budget properly. So right now I am kind of in the red. For restaurants, I stuck it out. Maybe the sacrifice was not eating out and buying more at the store so that I would meet my restaurant criteria. For car maintenance, I didn't end up spending anything. So I have an extra $50 here. I have a positive $50. This is going to help offset all of these negative amounts where I under budgeted. This one, I over budgeted $50. I did not spend that money. And so now I have that money that is going to help cover this overspending that I did. For entertainment, I overspent by $20. Again, it's your budget minus your actual. Home improvement, budget minus actual. I didn't spend more than those $30, so it's a positive $20 in the balance. And then for play money, this is 0, as you know. Clothes and shoes, I way overspent. I thought I was just going to spend $50, but I ended up buying some coats for the winter, and I spent $150. So I overspent by $100 here. All right, so now we want to add up our expenses, our actual expenses for the month. Okay, my actual expenses for the month were $4,572. Or continuing on to my savings, I did save that $25 and that $50. Of course, if I see that I have way underspent on my budget and I have some room to save more, I can absolutely do a one-time increase on my savings way more than I anticipated. That would be ideal scenario. That's really where you want to be. So my total savings was the $175. Now I'm going to add up my expenses and my savings. And again, I really encourage you to do this manually for a few months, if not for a full year or longer, because you will really get to know yourself and your expenses and held accountable to what you do. So my total is 4,747. Then now I'm going to take the total income and subtract it from my total expenses and savings. That leaves me with 2,553. So let's look at that for a second. I thought I was going to have $2,338 left at the end of the month, but I actually had $2,553. So why did that happen? If we look at our actual beginning balance, it was $500 more than we had anticipated, which tells me that in the month prior, we spent less money than we thought we would. So when looking at this information, let's say it's the end of the month, it's the end of February. Now you want to start fresh and you want to start with the month of March to budget for the month of March. Now you have 2 months of information gathered in order to make better decisions for the month of March. What's realistic? What's really happening here? How much are you spending on restaurants? What do you anticipate to spend on food and needs, on gas? Maybe the month of March is a big entertainment month. Maybe you have a show that you want to buy or go to. You want to make sure that you're putting that information in and understand where your money is going. The final column, the balance column, is truly to give you at a glance where you have overspent or under budgeted for the month. So you want to look at that column and identify the line items or the expenses or income that you didn't anticipate correctly. What you can do, again, what you're doing is learning yourself and learning your behaviors and your money habits. And what you can do is take that information and now use it to create your budget for the next month. Okay, I know this has been a pretty long video, but I hope you held on to the end and that this video was really helpful to you. If you have more questions about the monthly expense tracker or the monthly budget, please let me know in the comments below. Let me know if you have other types of budgeting questions. Thank you so much for holding on till the end. If you liked the video, please click that like button, subscribe to my channel. Some additional information from the edit room here. If you feel fired up about budgeting and you're ready to go gung-ho, I have a budgeting book that I created on Amazon that has the 2 spreadsheets that we worked on in this video and much more. So please find the link below for my Amazon budget book. As you know, this is a bilingual channel, so I also have one in Spanish, and I am working on making that budget video now in Spanish.